and all the learning should be an incredible zchos rafua shlema for Tinok ben Miriam Ahuva b'siyata d'shmaya. The koyach ha'Torah, which knows no bounds, should bring an incredible rafua shlema and Yeshua for Tinok ben Miriam Ahuva. We're holding on to Kuf Mem Zayin Amid Beis. We pulled up about 10 lines from the bottom. The first word on line is Va'asahu Kishel Torah. Amar Rava. Continuing the sugya of Manash Chimera and how far a matana of such a person on his deathbed, can go. Amar Rava, Amar Rav Nachman. Says Rav, the name of Rav Nachman, Chimera Shamar. Chimera, who said, Yider Pliny bebayizem. Pliny, such and such person should have the right to be dar, to live in this house. Yeichal Pliny peiros dekelzeh. This person should eat the peiros of this dekel, of this palm tree. Loi amar klum. Such a statement is meaningless. Ad, until what? Sheyomar tinu bayizel Pliny v'yader boy. Till he says this house should be given to Pliny, and then he can live in it. Or tinu dekel zele Pliny v'yoichal peiros. So we begin with a statement of Rava in the name of Rav Nachman, explaining to us that a manas shchimera has to be just that, a matana of the shchimera. The shchimera has to give the item. But if he just says merely a person should enjoy the rights to such an item, living there and eating there, that would not suffice. So says the Gemara, from here we see Lemimra de Savar Rav Nachman. We could see that Rav Nachman holds the following in a larger machlekes, Milsa de Isa bebari, Isa b'shchimera, and the Lesa bebari, Lesa b'shchimera. Says the Gemara, based on the statement of Rava, in the name of Rav Nachman, something that a bari can give away, a shchimera could do the same, but something that a bari himself cannot give away, then the shchimera cannot do more. Meaning, the only difference between the shchimera and the bari are the mechanics, are the methodology, how the item is given over. That a shchimera could do it even without a kinyan, as we've learned that due to the matziv of desperation, we allow the shchimera to easier give away properties, etc. But it's not that the shchimera could do more. He could just do it in an easier fashion. But based on this explanation of the statement of Rav in the name of Rav Nachman, ask the Gemara of Amar, V'ha Amar Rava, Amar Rav Nachman. But we know that Rava has said in the name of Rav Nachman as we turn over to Kofam Ches Amid Aleph. Rava has said in the name of Rav Nachman, Shchimera Shamar in the top line of Kofam Ches Amid Aleph to New Aleph Asi Leploini. If the Shchimera said, give my halva, give my loan, the debt that someone owes me to Pliny, Havasei Pliny, it works. Ve'af al gav, and even though the less of a bari does not have the power to convey such a gift, and yet Rava is learning that it would work. And the Rashbam points out in the third line that ve'af al gav de bari, that when it comes to a bari, lesa de'eno yochel lahaknos l'chaverei milva al peh. You cannot be kaineh a milva al peh d'loit saninu, because a milva is meant to be spent. Vein kinyan toifes al b'davar shuben, and you can only have a kinyan on a tangible item. Melon kinyan milva b'shtar, kushavas le'ishtar, you never may be shlashtam. But a stam giving over a halva, that is not possible. So asks the Gemara that we see, not like the rule we just laid down of Rav Nachman, Rav Papa Amar Hoyel v'yaresh Yarsha. Says Rav Papa, the reason in this case you could give it over, this halva, is because since it's going to be inherited. Therefore, as the Rashbam spells out, Shavir Abanon, as if it's a Yerusha, and therefore you're able to give it over Shechmat Nashchemera. So we're basically adding on a caveat to the rule that we said that anything that's going to be included in the Yerusha, that will, yes, be easier to be given over. Rav Acha B'Rei Ravika Amar Halva Isa Bibari. Rav Acha B'Rei Ravika says halva could be given over by a bari, meaning a second teretz. What does it mean, halva get over by a bari? What do you mean? We saw, as the Rashbam spoke out, you can only give over if it's a tangible item, a shtar, but not if not. Explains the Gemara, Ravuna Marav. Damar Ravuna Marav, 6 lines down, Manali Biadcha. And the guy responds to no leplaini. Excuse me. Someone says, I owe you a money. And he says, no, to mana li biyadcha, you owe me a mana. Tinohu leplaini, but instead of paying me back, I say give it to someone else. Be'maimad shloshtan kana. This, the truth is, Rashbam foreshadowed this nikuda, that there is a way to give over even a milval peh. Be'maimad shloshtan. So says the Gemara, there is a potential to give it over. Therefore, it's not a kasha on Rav Nachman. So 2 different reasons why the fact that one can give over a milveh is not a kasha. Ibayilo continues the Gemara with a new shayla, similar to the previous discussion. What's the halacha? Someone says, I'm giving the dekel, the tree, to one person, and I'm giving the peiros of the fruit to another person. It explains the Gemara, what's the shayla? Mi shayir makom peiri, do we say that it's viewed as if he left over the makom of the peiros? Therefore, the second guy could, yes, have a kinyan. Ayloi shayir. And him, Tim Zalay Merlach, if you're going to tell me it's not going to work to give it to someone else, what's the halacha if he said la'atzmai? He said, I'm giving you this dekel tree, but I'm keeping the peiros for myself. Would that work? Amar Rava, Amar Rav Nachman, intim soleimar dekel le'echad peiros of acher lo yavi shir. If you're going to tell me it's not called leaving something over, maka peri dekel le'echad v'shayir peiros lefanav. So that, but if he said that the makom of the peiros, intim soleimar, dekel le'echad peiros of acher lo yavi shir, lo yavi shir makom peri. There you go. It's not considered a shir for the makom of the peiros. So then you're going to tell me he for sure left over the place of the peiros. My time a call gabi nafshay bayin yafim mishayer. So Rava responds, the first shayla I'm not sure, but you want to know if he can leave something over klape himself. That we do say. Why? Because of a svara called klape nafshay. One always wants to leave over bayin yafim. Continues the Gemara. Amar le Rav Abba le Rav Ashi. Rav Abba said to Rav Ashi, which is going to be, this is actually very similar to like an Ika Diamri, as you'll see, which is going to be the previous discussion, slightly different. Says Rav Abba to Rav Ashi, Anad ad Rav Shimbe Lakish Mastin Allah. I learned the aforementioned exchange on the din of Reish Lakish. Damar Rav Shimon Lakish Hamacha Bais Lachavei Rav Amar Lai Al Menashe Dutel Yaina Sheli. We had this many daf ago. Someone says I'm selling you, you're at my house, but the dutel yaina, the fenced rooftop is mine. What's the halacha? Dutel yaina shelai lemaisa. He's able to keep the dutel yaina. We turn over to Kov Mem Ches Amid Beis, and the Gemara says Ibayilahu, based off of that statement that one is able to keep the dutel yaina. They had a shayla. Bayis le'echad, dutel le'echad ma'u. What if he didn't keep it to himself, but he wanted to give it to someone else? Miyavi shir loy. Imtim somer bayis le'echad, dutel le'echad lavi shir. But what about chutzim midiyota ma'u? What if he says, I'm just not selling you the dutel, I'm keeping that for myself? So now we have the same answer we said a moment ago. Amar Rava, Amar Rav Nachman, Tim Tzleimer, Bayis Tachlut Yachol Avi Shir, Chutz L'Diyot Avi Shir. But saying Chutz L'Diyot, that is considered leaving it over. V'aliba de Rav Zvid Amar, and according to Rav Zvid, that says Sheim Ratza Lahoitzi Bazizin Moitzi Alma Kiv Deshir Diuta Makazizin Nami Shir. And now we extend this one jot more. That says the Gemara, just like he's leaving over the diuta for himself, according to Rav Zvid, he's also leaving over the makim of the zizin, makim of the beams to be able to build from there. So the same nekuda that we just said a moment ago, that called klabin avshei, one does indeed want to leave over, because one, of course, views himself ba'ayin yafa. So says the Gemara, now we go back to our original topic, to our sugya of this parak, which again is matnas shchivmara. Amar Rav Yosef Arminumi on the third white line, Rav Nachman shchivmara shekasuk l'chasav la'achirim, a shchivmara that writes away all his nachasim to someone else. On the fourth white line, Rohin, we view ibn mechalek, if it appears that he wanted to give away everything, means that when he dies, kana kulam. Amad chayzer bekulam. He gets better, that everything goes back to him. But in binim lach. But if it seems originally he didn't want to give away everything. Originally he was giving away a few items, and then he changed his mind to give away everything. Meis kana kulam amad einay chayzer ela beachroin. So similar to what we learned, that we look into and we creep into his mind. Says the Gemara, if it was clear that really there were parts he wanted to give away, and then only afterwards, for whatever its reason, he added on, says the Gemara, the original gift would stand, and only the additions would be chayzer. Continues the Gemara. Vidilma asks the Gemara, I don't understand. Maybe not. Why are you telling me he's moisif, that he adds on a little bit? No, maybe he was ma'ayin. He thought about what he wanted to do, and he decided he wants to give away everything. And therefore, if he gets better, he should be able to get back everything. Excuse me. So answer Dilma one more time. Answers the Gemara is the general nature of a shchimera is that he's careful. And then he gives away. So if he paused only after he started giving away things, we assume it's because he now wanted to add things on, and therefore the original matanais will always stand, and will only be chayzer in the latter gifts. Amar Vachav Binumi Amar Rav Nachman, another statement b'shem Rav Nachman. 8 lines down. Says b'shem Rav Nachman, if he writes on the Chatzal Acherim and he gets better, Einoi Chayzer. Why? Even though he gave away everything, and even though he gave away everything, usually means he's only doing it because he thinks he's going to die. And therefore, if he doesn't die, you would think he should be able to get back his stuff. Says Rav Nachman a chiddush. We have to be chayshish. He has properties in another Medina that he kept for himself, and therefore he will not be retracting on these items. And but says the Gemara, wait, what about our Mishnah? What's the case of the Mishnah when it was machalik, whether he left over karka or not? According to what you're saying, you should always have a svara. Maybe he has b'medina sayam. Amar Rav Chama ba'imer kol nechasai. The chilik is going to be when he said all my properties. If he said everything, that means he left nothing behind. Mar Barvashi Amar b'muchsik lo andelastu. Or it's a muchsik. We have a presumed assumption prior to this story that this is everything that he has, and therefore there's no reason to suspect and assume that perhaps he has something b'medina sayam. We're smack in the middle of the wide lines. The first one line is Ashi. Continues the Gemara with a new shayla. Ibayi lehu chazra b'mixas havi chazara b'kulai oy loy. If the manash chimera, if he retracts the part of that which he gave away, is that considered that he's retracting everything or not? Tashema says the Gemara Kulan the Rishon and Miksas on the Sheni. If you give everything to one person apart to the second person, Sheni Kana, the second guy is Kana, Rishon like Kana. My love. What's the reason the Rishon is like Kana? Bishames is the case that I referred to where he died. And therefore, says the Gemara Wishavaraya, that the fact that the first person is getting something, the fact that he said Kula on the Rishon, and then he retracted and said Miksas on the Sheni. What do we see? That even when he's mace, the second guy does have a kinyan. So we see that even though he used Chazer b'Miksas, it is not a Chazer b'Kula. Says Gemara, no, it's not the case of the Brisa. Lai, b'Shamar, he got better. Hachanami mistavra, and the Gemara proves that this makes sense. Miksani Seifa. The Seifa that Brisa said makes us on the Rishon with Kula on the Sheni. If you first give away some and then you retracted, give everything to the second guy. Rishon Kaina Sheni Loikana. So I'm Rishon Bishamad. So that makes a lot of sense. Bishamach Sheni Loikana to get better. Eliam Bishameis Tarvayo Likni. Then they both have a kinyan. So Gemara proves that it's mistaver that the case of the Brisa is Bisha Ahmad. And therefore, we're not going to have a raya to our shayla of chazar mixas, have a chazara, or not. So says the Gemara, but for the first case, the Brisa, what do we see? We see that when he's chayzer in part, he's chayzer in all of it. So Amr Rav Yemar, Rav Ashi, V'tevi Nami B'Shamad. But why don't we also say that the first case, where he got better? So So then it makes sense that the second guy has some sort of kinyan. Then what? Then it should be a case similar to where he's giving away stuff to multiple peoples. And then when he gets better, no one should have a kinyan. So finally concludes the Gemara of Elchasa. What Lamaisa is the halacha chazar mixes have chazara bekula. Then how do we explain the first case of the Brisa? Reisha mishkachas la bein shemeis bein shamad. Sevelo mishkachas la ella bishamad. Now, of course, it's not so gishmak to split up the Brisa that each part is talking about different cases. The Gemara is left with no other choice, so it does such. But Lamaisa, we're going to hold chazar b'mixas is going to be, if you retract in part, it is considered retracting the whole thing. We'll pick it up from the Bailu in the next year. B'siyata Dishmai.